Hey everyone, it's Stephanie again, and you're tuned into the review of Married at First Sight, Honeymoon Island, Season 1, Episode 8. So last night was the finale, and I literally stayed offline all day long because I didn't want to see who ended up with who and how it all ended. I was like excited to kind of see what was going on. I didn't make any predictions last week, but I'll go ahead and kind of say what I was thinking as we go along with this review. So basically this episode was about them getting ready for decision day. So at the end of the 3 weeks, they decide if they want to stay together or not. And staying together for the most part means getting engaged. It's Honeymoon Island. So the whole thing is doing the honeymoon before getting engaged and before getting married. So I'll just say off the bat, watching this episode, it's just funny to see how different men and women are. And it's something that we all know, but literally watching this episode, in one corner, the women are saying one thing and they're 100%, correct and 100% committed. And in the other corner, the guys are, most of the guys, about half of the guys are not committed and half of the guys are. It was just funny to see because the women were like, I absolutely know that this is exactly what's going to happen. I mean, there's wishful thinking, but it was just funny to see like the side by side with what was really happening versus what people assumed. So we will kick it off. Initially in the episode, they had a time where the guys were hanging out. I don't remember where, but they were hanging out talking amongst themselves. The women were talking amongst themselves at the spa. I just found it a little interesting just to kind of see, what Katie was saying about Eric and what Chris and what's her name? I forgot her name. It'll come. But what Chris and what Jada was saying about Chris, I just thought it was really interesting. I felt like we're watching this from an outside perspective, but for us, some of it is so glaring. So I'll just kick it off with Katie and Eric. Katie and Eric, that was really sad to watch. I was not expecting that. I was also not expecting them to end up together because I never saw a connection to begin with. I said, last week and the week before that, Katie's very sweet. I really like her. I did not see a connection with Eric, and I really didn't see Eric connect to anything or anyone. He really remained surface. He didn't talk much about anything but travel and his business. He never really connected with the viewers, as far as I'm concerned, and kind of saying, I do really care about her. I can see a future with her. I do want to settle down. Like, I didn't buy it for 1 second at the beginning of this episode. Talking about not sleeping together and really that being the issue. Here's my issue with that. And I understand why he may say, hey, I'm not ready to be committed. I'm still on the couch. Like, I get that you still feel somewhat separated, and so you need to take it up a notch in the way that you both are comfortable. I get that. But to make the decision based off of that is very telling of how he is very fleeting. To literally roll his bag out while she is waiting. And I know that a lot of it was done, obviously, just for the audience, but for me, the way that he kind of skirted around was very much coward-like. And I think that he probably operates like that in real life. And last week, if you recall, I was saying there's something about him that just doesn't connect. And we need to start asking the question of, like, why isn't he, finding himself in a relationship? It's not just the traveling. I think the traveling is the easy scapegoat, but there's like a lack of connection in general, and that may be showing up in his relationships over and over. The fact that he couldn't even face her. You didn't even have the balls to face her and say, listen, I really care about you. I've come to really grow into a friendship or something, but I don't see the connection. When he left the note, I was completely done with him because I was just like, what a coward move. And just be authentic. And really, if you had a vested interest, that's a conversation that you guys could have had before, saying, you know what, I really care about you, but how do you feel about increasing the intimacy? We don't have to be fully intimate, but I would like to increase it and just see where we go. You can have that conversation. I mean, they all, well, Shannon and Kimber didn't need to, but they all had that conversation about building intimacy appropriately in a healthy way and where they're both comfortable. He just kind of waited and then he left, which I can bank on anything. He probably does that other places in his life. And that is one of the reasons why he ended up on this show. It's not just the traveling, because there's a lot of people who travel. There are a lot of couples who have spouses or significant others who travel, and you make it work. So, you know, Katie, you're better off. You know, definitely have well wishes for you, that you find what you're looking for, and or that person finds you. That was really sad to watch, but she's onward and upward. You definitely dodged a bullet. So good luck with that, Katie. So that is Katie and Eric. Kimber and Shannon, that was another surprise for me as well. Kimber and Shannon ended up staying together. Shannon asked her to marry him. So Kimber and Shannon, the surprise came for me because I believe that Shannon wants to have kids. I think the only reason why he even said, oh, it's not, you know, it's not a definite or maybe, is because he doesn't want to scare her. But you can tell that family is very important to him. He came out and said it. It only started sounding different when she's really basically said how she feels. I think they have great chemistry elsewhere, but I don't necessarily see some of the foundational things adding up, and it can change. You know, people feel a type of way about something, and you know, life can change, experiences can change you. So I'm thinking that Shannon is hoping that that is something that happens for her, and maybe she's hoping that it happens for her too. But right now she seems very set in how she feels about having children, and I don't believe that long term he will be happy with not having children if she decides to kind of stick to what she's been doing up until now. So it was just really surprising for me, because Shannon wasn't even sure or ready to be committed throughout the entire episode, and he lets his emotion take over him, as do many of us, and asks her to marry him, and she says yes. But they both seem like, I really care about you. I'm really committed to wanting to continue this journey. And she even says that when he proposes, like, I'm excited to continue this journey with you, which is sweet, but it wasn't like I'm excited to be engaged. I'm excited to get married. It's like, I'm excited to kind of see how this goes. And for me, it was like telling kind of the choice of words. And I think he did it like sporadically, like, well, it's either this or nothing. So I don't know. I mean, I wish them well. They're cute together. They have good chemistry. But that big stuff will come up again. And if they're not on one accord, you know, it's not going to go away. There has to be a decision made that works for both of them. And that may not always be a good thing. I hope it's a good thing, because I love love. And I'm excited to see these people kind of working out. But you know, we can't ignore like the red flags. So that's Kimber and Shannon. They end up staying together, so I hope they are still enjoying each other. Moving on. What I really enjoyed about seeing Jada and Chris is that they made a decision that was very comfortable for them. So I thought it was really funny that, like, Chris wasn't sure about being, you know, committed throughout the whole thing, but he pushed for sex. And we saw that episode like a couple of weeks ago where he was saying how important intimacy is. But now there's a moment in this episode where he's like, you know, we made love and it was cool. I'm like, it was cool. Like, that's major, especially coming from her. You know, I found it interesting, because I said, obviously he wasn't pumping the brakes then, but now he wants to, whatever. So he made the right decision, because I actually really like them together. I think that beyond what we see with the playboy and the smooth talker, beyond that, he is someone who's like rooted in a lot of the things that she's rooted in: family and faith and building a future together. And I really just want to see them win. Like, they really have a good chemistry. You know, he's really a devoted father. That's very important to him. And they get to the end of the episode and they decide to obviously stay together and continue their journey together. He gave her a commitment ring, which I thought was beautiful, because let's be real, they're not ready to get married. I don't know that anybody is after 3 weeks, but it happens. But they were honest in saying, I want to continue to get to know you. I want to continue to build a life with you. I want you to meet my daughter. Like, for me, that's a very plausible reason why you want to extend this experiment and not, or the experience, because it'll be that, and not want to just jump the gun because there's a time frame and you have to do it. So I really enjoyed seeing that. I think they're great together. I really hope that they work out. So that's Jada and Chris. So they stayed together, yay. Last but certainly not least, Brandon and Jonna. So we all know that Brandon and Jonna have been, you know, up and down. Like, they have had like a good trajectory, but we know that Brandon was a little more reserved and Jonna's been all in. So I was nervous. I really was nervous to see this episode. I didn't think it was going to go the way that it went, only because I felt like Brandon wasn't necessarily ready for what Jonna had to offer, like in the entirety of it. Like, I think that over time she could get there. So I was really nervous because I thought she was going to say no. And I think when we saw the episode, we kind of all thought that that was possibly the thing. We knew Jonna was going to propose. We know he's head over heels. We know she has feelings for him, but we also know that she's not ready to make that big leap. So I thought she was going to say no, and I was worried about that because I felt like they could mess up something that could potentially be good given a chance. But she said yes, which, I mean, I literally sat up. I was like falling asleep. I sat up because I was so surprised. She looked genuinely happy. He, of course, was head over heels, like over the moon excited. I really want it to work out. You know, I hope that it's rooted in something that's continuing to grow. I don't know when this was filmed, but continuing to grow, and that they find what they're looking for. It definitely surprised me, though, because there were times where I was like, I'm feeling like a friend zone type of thing. I don't know that I see it. And then there were earlier times where I felt like it was going really well, and I really didn't know what to expect this time around. So that's it. They ended up together, and this was an interesting season, an interesting experiment. I'm gonna think a little bit about what I would have changed a little bit, but I definitely think it was like a nice twist to, you know, meeting at the altar like Married at First Sight does, but not necessarily just going rogue and not having any type of structure. So, you know, the important thing is that people continue to look for love and they continue to cherish those relationships. And I think relationships are the foundation of human connection. So it's really important, and you never stop looking for it. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Please subscribe. Don't forget to put your email down if you want to join in on that Q&A. I'm going to send that information out this week, and comment, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Everyone have a great week.